The moment he said it, he didn't even look at me. He was staring at his reflection in the dark television screen, adjusting the collar of his expensive shirt. A shirt I had quietly paid the credit card bill for just 2 weeks prior. "Just step over her," he told his friend, waving a careless hand in my direction as they walked through the living room with their muddy golf shoes. "Don't mind Helen. She's basically just furniture at this point. Comes with the house." His friend let out an awkward, nervous laugh and avoided my eyes. I was sitting on the floral sofa I had picked out with my late husband 30 years ago. I had been sitting there reading, trying to make myself as small as possible, trying not to breathe too loudly, trying not to exist too much in a home that had my name on the deed. For 3 years, my son-in-law, Mark, had been slowly erasing me. It didn't happen overnight. Erasing a person rarely does. It happens in inches. First, it was the thermostat. "It's freezing in here, Helen. We're changing it." Then it was the kitchen cabinets. My pots and pans were moved to the garage to make room for his imported coffee machines and protein powders. Then it was the noise, the constant booming sports channels, the loud phone calls on speaker, the heavy boots on the hardwood floors. My daughter, Sarah, had asked to move back in just for a few months while they saved for a down payment on a place of their own. I loved my daughter. I wanted to be the safety net she needed, but a safety net is meant to catch you when you fall. Mark wasn't falling. He was nesting. When he called me furniture, something inside my chest stopped fluttering. For 3 years, I had lived with a constant humming anxiety, a fear of making him angry, a fear of causing friction in my daughter's marriage, a fear of being a burden in my own home. But in that exact second, as the word furniture hung in the air, the anxiety vanished. It was replaced by a cold, crystalline clarity. Furniture does not speak. Furniture does not feel. But most importantly, furniture does not sign the checks. I didn't say a word to him. I closed my book. I stood up, smoothing the wrinkles from my linen trousers. I walked past them, my posture straighter than it had been in a decade, and I went upstairs to my bedroom. I didn't pack a suitcase. I didn't shed a single tear. I opened my cedar closet, reached up to the highest shelf and pulled down a small, heavy, fireproof lockbox. Inside was my life distilled into paper, my husband's life insurance payout, my retirement accounts, and the deed to the property at 421 Elm Street, clear, unencumbered, and owned solely by Helen Vance. I put the documents in my leather tote bag. I walked downstairs. Mark was in the kitchen now, popping open a beer, laughing loudly about a golf swing. Sarah was standing by the sink, chopping vegetables, her shoulders tense, her eyes focused downward, pretending she hadn't heard what her husband had called her mother just 10 minutes prior. "I am going out," I said quietly. Sarah looked up surprised. "Mom, where? It's almost dinner time." "Out," I repeated. I opened the front door and let it click shut behind me. The evening air felt different. It tasted like oxygen I hadn't been allowed to breathe for years. I drove to a quiet, upscale hotel 2 towns over. I checked into a suite. I ordered room service, a steak, cooked medium rare, and a glass of expensive red wine. I ate in absolute silence. No sports broadcasters screaming from a television, no heavy footsteps, just the soft clinking of my silver fork against the porcelain plate. The next morning, at exactly 9 a.m., I walked into the mahogany-paneled office of Arthur Pendleton. Arthur was not just a lawyer, he was a shark wrapped in a tailored suit, and he had been my late husband's closest friend. When I sat across from him and told him what had happened, Arthur didn't offer me pity. He knew me better than that. He simply opened his legal pad and uncapped his pen. "He called you furniture," Arthur said, his voice a low, dangerous rumble. "I did," I replied. so I would like to redecorate. What is the objective, Helen? I want him out, today, and I want every financial tie severed. I have been paying their car insurance, their health insurance, and the premium cable package he watches for 12 hours a day. I want it all gone. Arthur smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. It was the smile of a man who loved his job. They are legally considered month-to-month tenants by default, even without a lease. We have to serve them a formal 30-day notice to quit. But the finances, those are yours. We can cut the cord right now. By 1 p.m., my bank had issued me new account numbers. The joint credit card I had given Sarah for emergencies, which Mark had been using to buy $200 bottles of scotch and golf club memberships, was frozen. The auto pay for their car insurance was canceled. Then Arthur drafted the notice. It was beautiful in its sterile, emotionless language. It didn't mention feelings. It didn't mention disrespect. It simply stated that the right of occupancy had been terminated. I will have a process server deliver this at 6 p.m., he said, when he knows they are both home. Good, I said. I will be here. At 6:15 p.m., my cell phone began to vibrate on the hotel nightstand. The caller ID flashed Mark's name. I let it ring. Then it stopped. Then started again. Then came the texts. What is this? Helen, answer the phone right now. Are you crazy? You can't do this to your own daughter. I picked up the phone, swiped to silence the notifications, and went down to the hotel lobby to enjoy a cup of chamomile tea. I watched the city lights flicker on through the glass windows. For years, I had believed that keeping the peace meant absorbing the war. I thought if I just stayed quiet, eventually he would respect me. But I realized sitting there that predators do not respect prey for staying quiet. They just eat them faster. The next morning, Arthur arranged a meeting at his office. I sat at the long conference table. At 10 a.m. sharp, the doors flew open. Mark stormed in, his face flushed red, clutching the legal papers in his fist like a weapon. Sarah trailed behind him, looking pale and terrified. "This is illegal," he shouted before he even hit the nearest chair. "You can't just throw us out on the street. I have squatters' rights. We've established residency." I didn't say a word. I looked at Arthur. Arthur adjusted his glasses. "Take a seat, Mark. Volume will not change the law today." Mark slammed his hands on the table. "I'm not sitting. She's lost her mind. After everything we've done to take care of her." "Take care of me?" Finally I spoke. My voice was so quiet, so devoid of emotion, that it forced him to stop yelling just to hear me. "How exactly have you taken care of me, Mark?" "We keep you company. We look after the house." I opened my folder. I slid a stack of highlighted bank statements across the polished wood. "You have lived in my home rent-free for 36 months. In that time, I have paid $14,000 in grocery bills, $6,000 in utilities, and $22,000 on a credit card that you use to buy, among other things, a customized set of titanium golf clubs. You have not taken care of me. You have harvested me." Mark's jaw tightened. He looked at Sarah, expecting her to defend him. "Tell your mother to stop this. Tell her she's destroying our family." Sarah looked at the bank statements. She hadn't known about the golf clubs. She hadn't known the depths of his spending. Her eyes welled with tears. "Mom, please, where will we go? We don't have the savings for a down payment right now." "Why not?" I asked softly. "You haven't paid rent for 3 years, Sarah. You both have full-time jobs. Where is the money?" The room fell dead silent. The truth is a heavy thing, and when you finally drop it on the table, it breaks everything fragile underneath. Mark looked away. Sarah looked at Mark. The realization washed over her face, turning her pale skin a sickly shade of gray. The investments Mark had been talking about, the business ventures he claimed were tying up their cash, they were lies. He had spent it all. He had spent her paycheck, his paycheck, and my silent subsidies. "You have 30 days, Arthur said, his voice cutting through the tension like a blade. "You will be sued if you damage the property. If you harass my client, I will file a restraining order. And just so we're completely clear, the credit cards are canceled. The utilities are being transferred to a shut-off status in 30 days. You are entirely on your own." "You're a bitter, selfish old woman," he spat at me, his voice trembling with a potent mix of rage and panic. I looked him dead in the eye. "I am the furniture," I said, "and I am moving." I didn't return to the house for 30 days. I stayed in my hotel. I went to art galleries. I took long walks in the botanical gardens. I slept through the night for the first